Right now, as you're watching this video, you're moving at over 1,000 miles per hour. You don't feel it, but Earth is spinning beneath your feet at incredible speed. But what if, suddenly, it all just stopped? The scenario sounds like science fiction, but the consequences would be absolutely catastrophic. In the next few minutes, we'll explore what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped rotating. Trust me, it's far worse than you could imagine. Let's start with the basics. Earth rotates at about 1,040 miles per hour at the equator. That's faster than the speed of sound. So what happens when something moving that fast suddenly stops? Everything that isn't firmly attached to the ground would continue moving. And by everything, I mean everything. Imagine you're in a car traveling at 60 miles per hour, and it suddenly hits a wall. You'd fly forward, right? Now multiply that speed by 17, that's what we're dealing with. If Earth stopped spinning instantly, the atmosphere would keep moving at over 1,000 miles per hour. Supersonic winds would sweep across the entire planet, destroying everything in their path. Buildings, trees, mountains, nothing would survive. These winds would be strong enough to move the oceans themselves. The oceans contain massive amounts of water. When Earth stops, that water doesn't. Imagine tsunami waves hundreds of feet tall, traveling at the speed of sound, obliterating coastlines worldwide. Entire continents would be reshaped in minutes. Even you, standing on solid ground, would be thrown eastward at over 1,000 miles per hour. The result? Instant death for every living thing on the surface. But let's say, hypothetically, Earth slowed down gradually over time instead of stopping instantly. What then? If Earth took months or years to stop spinning, we'd have a different, though still apocalyptic, situation. Let's explore this somewhat less immediately deadly scenario. First, our days would get longer, much longer. Currently, Earth completes one rotation every 24 hours. As it slows down, days would stretch to weeks, then months. Imagine the sun beating down on one side of the planet for 6 months straight. Temperatures would soar to unbearable levels. We're talking 200 degrees Fahrenheit or more. Meanwhile, the night side would be plunged into freezing darkness for 6 months, with temperatures dropping to minus 100 degrees or lower. The only potentially habitable areas would be along the Terminator line, the thin border between day and night. This twilight zone would have more moderate temperatures, but it would constantly shift as Earth crawls through its rotation. Humanity would be forced to migrate continuously, following this narrow band of survivable climate. Civilization as we know it would collapse. Here's something most people don't know. Earth's magnetic field exists because of its rotation. The spinning of our planet's liquid iron core generates this invisible shield that protects us from deadly solar radiation. If Earth stopped spinning, we'd lose this magnetic field. Without it, solar wind and cosmic radiation would bombard our planet directly. The atmosphere would gradually be stripped away, just like what happened to Mars billions of years ago. First, satellites would fail. GPS, communications, everything we depend on in modern life would be gone. But that's just the beginning. Cosmic rays would penetrate deep into the atmosphere. Cancer rates would skyrocket. Plant life would struggle to survive. The ozone layer would be destroyed, allowing harmful UV radiation to sterilize the surface. In essence, Earth would slowly transform into a dead, barren world like Mars. But the changes wouldn't stop there. Earth isn't actually a perfect sphere. The centrifugal force from its rotation causes it to bulge at the equator. The equator is about 26 miles farther from Earth's center than the poles. When rotation stops, this bulge would disappear. Gravity would pull the excess water and land mass toward the poles. We're talking about massive geological changes. The oceans would migrate toward the poles, creating two massive polar oceans. Meanwhile, a giant supercontinent would emerge around the equator, land that was previously underwater. Sea levels at the equator could drop by over a mile, while polar regions would be flooded under thousands of feet of water. Every coastal city would either be underwater or suddenly landlocked. The entire geography of Earth would be rewritten. The redistribution of mass would also change local gravity. The equator would experience slightly stronger gravity, while polar regions would feel slightly lighter. It sounds minor, but it would affect everything from how high you can jump to how rain falls. Just like the oceans, the atmosphere would redistribute itself. Air would flow toward the poles, creating extremely high atmospheric pressure there and extremely low pressure at the equator. At the equator, the air would become so thin that breathing would be nearly impossible without supplemental oxygen. It would be like standing on top of Mount Everest, but worse. Meanwhile, polar regions would have crushing atmospheric pressure. Remember those 6-month days and nights we discussed? The temperature differences would create the most violent weather systems Earth has ever seen. Storms with winds of 300 miles per hour would rage along the Terminator line as hot and cold air masses collided. On the night side, temperatures would drop so low that the atmosphere itself might freeze. Nitrogen and oxygen would liquefy and fall as bizarre rain, creating pools of liquid air on the surface. The day side would be scorched and airless, while the night side would be buried under frozen atmosphere. Could anything survive? Could humanity adapt? The honest answer is, probably not. But let's explore what might be theoretically possible. Humanity's only chance would be to move underground. Deep bunkers could protect against radiation, temperature extremes, and atmospheric pressure changes. We'd need to create entirely artificial environments with controlled temperature, pressure, and radiation shielding. Without rotation, we'd lose wind power. The 6-month day-night cycle would make solar power challenging, but not impossible. You'd need massive energy storage systems to survive the 6-month nights. Geothermal energy might be our best bet, tapping into Earth's still hot interior. Nuclear power would also be crucial for survival. All agriculture would need to move underground or into massive climate-controlled facilities. We'd lose most plant and animal species. The food chain would collapse. Humanity would survive on artificially grown food, if we survived at all. Alternatively, survivors might become nomads, constantly traveling along the Terminator line to stay in the habitable zone. Imagine mobile cities on rails, slowly crawling around the planet, forever chasing the twilight. This would require unprecedented cooperation and resources. And even then, radiation exposure would likely doom these surface dwellers over time. Here's an ironic twist. The moon is actually trying to stop Earth's rotation. The gravitational pull between Earth and moon creates tidal forces that very gradually slow our planet's spin. In about 50 billion years, Earth would become tidally locked with the moon, meaning one side of Earth would always face the moon, just like one side of the moon always faces Earth. If Earth suddenly stopped spinning, the moon's orbit would be affected. The gravitational dynamics between Earth and moon would change, potentially causing the moon to drift farther away or even escape Earth's gravity entirely. Losing the moon would be another catastrophe, as it stabilizes Earth's axial tilt and influences our climate. Without the moon, Earth's tilt could vary wildly over time, causing even more extreme climate swings. So what happens if Earth stops spinning? In short, total annihilation of life as we know it. Whether the stoppage is instant or gradual, the results are catastrophic. Supersonic winds, apocalyptic tsunamis, 6-month days, loss of the magnetic field, radiation bombardment, atmospheric collapse, and complete geographical restructuring. Earth wouldn't be destroyed, but it would become unrecognizable, a dead world where survival would require technology and resources we can barely imagine. The good news? This scenario is purely hypothetical. There's no force in nature that could stop Earth's rotation. The laws of physics, specifically the conservation of angular momentum, protect us from this nightmare. Earth has been spinning for 4.5 billion years, and it will continue spinning for billions more. But understanding what would happen helps us appreciate the delicate balance that makes life on Earth possible. We live on a perfectly spinning ball of rock, protected by an invisible magnetic shield, with just the right atmosphere and temperature. It's a reminder of how fortunate we are, and how fragile our existence truly is. If you enjoyed this cosmic thought experiment, make sure to like this video and check out our other space mysteries. What other impossible scenarios should we explore? Let me know in the comments below.